Again, he had a medical thing he had to deal with.
Who did?
Chief of police.
Oh, don't have Matt Donnelly here?
I told him, and he comes up, all right.
Because over there, I think those guys, you would think, I'm saying that they guys trying to get me a drink.
7 o'clock, please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, get the motion to accept the minutes of May 4th.
That's a move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Motion to accept the financial report and payment of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Well, got a few minutes. Okay, Oswald, we got a few minutes before the public hearing. You're gonna take.
I need to like 10, 15 minutes. You go ahead and go with public hearing, that's fine.
All right, we can get you. Cindy, you want? We got a few minutes before the.
All right, Cindy.
Good evening.
You can sit down, you know.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't really
That's right.
Okay. I have presented for you to review a copy of the Elkton Housing Authority's PHA plan that we submitted to, actually we did not submit this, it was not required to be submitted this year to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Normally we would provide this each year, and every 5th year we include our 5-year plan for modernization activities. So this year was the first year where we were authorized some little bit of deregulation, and the only thing we really had to submit was our 5-year plan update and our civil rights certification. But we still did perform the plan and the function and included a public meeting and our resident advisory board. So I provided a copy of that for you to review, and I just wanted to bring forth a couple of things to remind the Elkton community of the Housing Authority and where we are and what we do. The mission of the authority under section 5.1 is the same basic mission as the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunities, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination. The goals and objectives that help us meet our mission, we continue our efforts to increase the availability of decent, safe, and affordable housing. We reduce public housing vacancies the best that we can. We leverage private and public funds to create additional housing opportunities when we have the ability to do that. We have the ability, yet we have not exercised much of acquiring or building or developing additional units. But we do improve the public housing management, increase customer satisfaction, and concentrate on the efforts to improve our management functions and the ongoing modernization of our existing public housing units. The public housing units that we manage are the senior citizen apartments at 150 East Main Street, Rudy Park Development on Fridge Street, and Windsor Village located off of Friendship Road, for a total of 150 units. And then we also manage 40 housing choice vouchers that are distributed amongst the Elkton area to independent private landlords with housing assistance. Section 8.1 of our plan talks about our capital fund program, and we've included an update which consists of about 6 pages, and it covers a grant from 2008 that we just recently closed out. It includes our stimulus, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act grant, an update to that, which is also closed out at this point. It includes our plans for a 2009 grant, which will be fully obligated as of June 30th this year. And it includes our plans for 2010 through 2015. We are, as a small agency, we have the opportunity to be very fungible with our plan, and that we can sort of shift things around as we need to for the benefit of modernizing the housing authority. So anything that's in here, each year we can update and bring forward to meet the more immediate needs that we may have. So, just some statistics on Section 9. The Housing Authority provides housing for elderly families, families with disabilities, and households of various races and ethnic groups. We currently have waiting lists for both of our programs, both public housing and Section 8. On the public housing list, we have 622 families. 90% of those families are considered extremely low income, which is the lowest of the 3 tiers that we look at. There's some more stats in the report about the different types and makeup of the ethnicity of the families. On the Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8 waiting list, we have 192 families, and they consist of 88% of those being extremely low. We have not closed either one of our waiting lists, have not ever in my tenure at the Housing Authority. Some agencies, once they receive a certain limit and realize that they can't effectively house people within a year or 2 years, they will shut the list down, and we do not do that. We do purge our list 2 times a year so that we try to keep it as accurate as we can to help the families that are in most need. We do have a resident advisory board that reviews the Housing Authority's plans, and that is consistent of a representative of each of our public housing communities, and also includes a Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher participant. And they sit around on this board and review the plan and review comments and discuss with us what the upcoming year will be before we submit our final plans to HUD. And we also include their comments, and this year they did not have any comments.
Very good. I know you've been doing an excellent job over there.
Thank you very
Very
much.
good job. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I provided for Michelle to copy you some statistics for the federal rental assistance facts just for the state of Maryland. And I put check marks in the first chart down to show you the 2 programs that the Housing Authority administers, which is the Housing Choice Vouchers and Public Housing. In the state of Maryland, Housing Choice Vouchers, there are currently 40,903 vouchers available, and in public housing, 21,330 units. This is meeting the needs of extremely low income. For vouchers, 75% are extremely low income, and public housing, 80% are extremely low. And there's a further breakdown about the percentage of elderly, disabled, and families with children. That pretty much concludes everything that we had submitted for our written reporting, and I have still some more stuff. We do as much as we can do on a monthly basis to address specific issues and to try to promote things that will help the families in our developments. For instance, fair housing. April was a pretty busy month, and we have one particular employee that is a resident coordinator for the Housing Authority. Many of you may know her. Her name is Nancy Crawford, and she, I think, brought a presentation to you a month or so ago about a computer lab that she established with the assistance of a cooperative extension. And in April, she attended a lot of programs with the state of Maryland that were free programs. So she traveled a lot, but she had submitted a report for us to talk about the initiatives from Baltimore City and Baltimore County that they were doing with fair housing. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so she's given us a presentation of programs that she will be attending with the health department. She stays very busy with the seniors, and in June we'll be doing a Father's Day event on the 18th from 12 to 2. So she's in the phases of planning that now, trying to get a good motivational speaker and include good events for the children and their fathers, some of which may not be in the community, but we would encourage them to be more part of their family and involvement in the activities.
Okay.
I think that covers it. The federal budget is not a good one. In
Yeah.
fiscal year 2011, it looks like the end result for public housing was that our funding was reduced by 8.5%. So we received 91.5% of our eligibility on the HUD side of our budget. In fiscal 2012, doesn't look like it's going to be anywhere near that. And in fact, the proposal from HUD is to recapture our operating reserves, meaning that they don't intend to fund us if we have sufficient reserves in the bank. That they would expect us to use those reserves down to a certain limit. The Housing Authority, because we are so small, we have to perform in so many different functions, but we've also been very successful in savings. So we've established some reserves that will help us meet needs that are not funded otherwise, through the federal funds or the internal funds that we generate. So in the event of an emergency or lack of federal funds, we would be prepared to run our agency for upward 9 to 12 months in the event that something catastrophe happens. We're hoping that never comes to that. And nationally and at the state level, I'm involved with the Maryland Association of Housing and Redevelopment. I'm on their board, I'm on their legislative committee, I'm on all their special committees, excuse me. And we're really fighting at the state and the national level to try to not have any further impacts on the housing budgets, the affordable housing budgets. There is a lot of excess funding in the federal level of the government that could be impacted before it comes down to the programs. So that's the point that I'm trying to hit home with a lot of people locally that I've been talking with and sharing some experiences that the Housing Authority has had.
Very good. You keep yourself very busy and saying. Anybody else have any questions of Cindy?
Do y'all, I know you have, but have you practiced most recently a emergency evacuation plan?
We practice that with our seniors, more so like a fire drill.
Okay.
And we normally do that. Fire Prevention Month is that October.
October.
Yeah. We do that. This is a Nancy task. So Nancy schedules it. We bring maintenance in. We test our fire alarm. We shut down our system. We evacuate. We time the residents. We discuss with them, evacuation routes and what to do in the event of an emergency, contacting family. We keep our list up to date, yes.
Do you have anything like a code red or code yellow, like a lot of institution practice, a bank robber or something in the area? You want to get people to stay inside of their homes or their units. Do you have any PA system or something like that? Like an alert system like you see also on phones and things like that?
Our fire alarm system would be the closest we could come at 150 if there was something that were to happen that needed attention. When we pull the fire alarm, it would ring inside of the units as well as in the hallways and all the common areas. So,
to get that out?
Yeah, get them to come out.
But you don't have anything for them to go in and stay in and lock the doors?
Not yet.
Okay.
One of the authorities that I followed pretty closely actually has implemented a system through Verizon that allows for telecommunication. They can greet their guests and visitors through their TV. They can read bulletins from the Housing Authority. So I'm very interested in that. I just haven't had time to get more details.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your help.
Yep.
Okay. Now we have the public hearing on the fiscal year budget 2012. So this public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on the 2012 budget? This is for introduction purposes only too this evening.
Bob Blitzenberg, 105 Walnut Lane. Good evening, lady, gentlemen. Good evening. Got a few questions. Some issues with your overtime in some of these departments. Some departments that it seems like that would be having to work some overtime is very small, and other ones that we know work a lot of overtime seem to be very high. Let's see. What page am I on here now? Okay, police department's $210,000. We know that that's going to be like that. It's always been fairly high. Overtime for police support services, $29,000 for 2 secretaries and 4 office associates.
Could you tell us page?
We're on page 13, I'm sorry.
Notice we have numbers this time.
I know they got the numbers, so we're glad for that because we can identify things.
Right.
And I'm neglecting identifying. $29,000 for overtime for 2 secretaries and an office associate. I mean, what? The chief isn't here. Maybe
No.
it's your budget, Mr. Mayor. Maybe you can answer. What do they do that justifies overtime? The $29,000.
To be honest with you, I think the only thing I would consider since the chief's not here, that I know sometimes if they've run short or something, and I guess that'd be overtime and counting, time and a half. Anybody runs over their their hours, because they have to supplement that.
Somebody with one clerk goes off, and doesn't the other one come on?
Normally, but one person could line up getting overtime if someone else didn't show up.
This looks to me like it's an awful lot of money for the overtime there. It's just a point. In the health insurance, it doesn't seem like it's consistent. Some departments with several people in it would have, let me get down here on this one particular one. Page 11. You got 2 employees for $26,845 for 2 employees. Now, are you, with this insurance, are you insuring their whole families, or how does this work?
The amount budgeted for insurance is based on when there's an incumbent in the position, it would be based on their actual policy. When the position is open at the time of the preparation of the budget, we budget for a family plan.
Okay.
Okay, and then also you have to look down at the, although there may be 2 positions or however many positions in that particular department, you have to look at full-time equivalent. So if there's less than a full-time position, there would be that percentage of the fringe benefits budget there too. But again, the high would be a little bit over $20,000 for a family plan.
Okay, well, there's 2 positions here, and you just refilled, you just
And
filled
actually,
the
right,
human resources, didn't you? Just
right,
fill that?
at the time, I guess you left, the person was not known, so
Yes.
we budget for the family plan. And the other position, the amount of coverage was known.
Could you speak on that equivalence, like the 30% or whatever, because that plays a big part of the questions he's asking.
Right.
Because it might be clear to you because you're doing this, but to somebody else it's not clear.
Right.
Even myself, I wasn't clear on it.
Right, that was added this year, I think, was at the request of Mr. Litzenberg last year, that although there may be however many positions in that department, they may not be the full-time equivalent, but that's the recognition that some positions benefit other areas, specifically water fund and sewer fund. So there's some positions, and now you have human resources here. 70% of each of those 2 positions is budgeted to the general fund. So therefore, 70% of their salary, 70% of their fringe benefits will be budgeted to the general fund, specifically that department. The other 30% will be split between the water fund and sewer fund.
What is the purpose of that? If you're doing that, when you come in here with your salaries and so forth, if you're splitting, well, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you're putting 30% or 20% into somebody else's budget, how does that make your salaries on these other departments accurate?
Because it's allocated to those departments also. It's just a recognition that a human resource function would be providing human resource services to the general fund employees and the water employees and the sewer fund employees. So therefore, it's only natural, and for full disclosure, you want their costs allocated to the departments or funds in this case that are receiving the benefit.
Can I make a statement on that?
I still don't understand that.
If you're talking about a human resource person, 30% of their pay is being allocated to another department, another fund like public work. You're showing that they're working for two different departments. That's basically what you're saying, right?
Well, it's actually not public works, it's public works of the general fund.
Okay, I'm using an example.
Okay.
In this budget, if you would put that like on the side of human resource, 30%, and then allocate it to that department, it would have made more sense than just putting those numbers up there. We'll at least know. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well, then, I don't know if you end up with a budget might look like a New York City subway map if you got everything going different directions. That's why for the first time this year, we've always included the number of bodies in the department. In this case, you're looking at human resources or personnel. There are two positions there.
I understand that.
But only 70% of them are charged.
Okay.
And you're right, you wouldn't know by looking at where the other 30% of
But
the people
for
are.
somebody reading it, what this is for somebody to understand, not somebody to speculate. What you putting in here should be able to identify. You just mentioned about the subway. If I'm an engineer working on a car, putting a carburetor in, I would know as an engineer where the carburetor goes. Now, if I'm not an engineer and said, give it to me and put that carburetor in, I would have no idea. But if it's written down and stated where it goes, you'll know exactly what's supposed to be in the budget. That's basically what he's asking.
Okay, I guess the only way to accomplish that would be have a list of all the personnel and then column headings of general fund, water fund, and sewer fund. That would be outside of each department.
Or you do it the way you've done it, but you put a little asterisk at the bottom, making an explanation of particular topics or entries.
Well, would that help?
And given the department, we're kind of tapped out on room. We
I
try for
understand.
presentation purposes. There's some details lost, certainly. That's correct.
Well, when you look at under finance, the salaries of $83,000, and what you're saying, you're spreading that above that, 20% above this, onto the other departments. But when you do that, when under their salaries, does that make their salaries? Doesn't that make their salaries not right?
No, the dollar amounts that aren't in.
Because, all right, wait a minute. Planning and zoning 107,670, the very next page. How much of that 107,670 is actually the planning director and the planning assistant?
I believe they're each 80%, the other 20% are in building inspection, I believe. I don't have all that. I don't have all my notes here in front of me. But all full-time people are likely 100%.
Well, no,
Whether
they're
it's another
50%.
department within the general fund or a entirely different fund. I guess we can include in the future either additional pages in this document that we have in front of us now, or else a separate standalone sheet that would have everybody and what percentage they are in what department and fund.
Does the board understand what I'm asking?
I think you're
Yeah,
asking.
you want to know where the money's going from.
I want to know where it's going, but all I'm saying is the way this is done here, I questioned that before last year. It
Because
still doesn't make sense to me, but
And I
it's
think
your
you-
budget.
Well, it's to recognize that the finance department doesn't work just in the general fund, because we prepare the water sewer bill.
I understand that.
That a portion of our salary and fringe expenses is allocated to the water fund and the sewer fund. You get a truer picture of the cost of operating each of the funds.
Well, I understand that.
This is not an attempt to hide salaries or anything, just to recognize the benefit received by whatever department or fund. They should be allocated that fair share or reasonable share of that person's salary.
I think my experience in that has been.
I understand what you're saying, but I still don't understand why it's done that way.
It's not different.
Pardon me?
We've always done it that way. Allocated the cost of labor to whatever fund.
You as commissioners, when you read this, when you look at this budget and look at the salaries in there, do you assume that the salary, say for administration, is $170,216? Do you assume that you've got town administrator, secretary, receptionist, and the part-time attorneys involved? Do you assume that that's what the three people are making in their salaries?
no,
What page are you on?
I'm
Page
on page 5.
no, because it's saying it's equivalent to 2.20 full-time positions. even though there's 3 positions here and a part-time town attorney. So, and I think what you're saying is we're not seeing, say if there's 50% of their salary is in this department and 20% somewhere else and 30, to make that 100% of what their salary is. That's what we're not seeing here, but we're seeing the equivalent. It's saying it's equivalent to 2.20 full-time equivalent positions, 3.5 positions is equivalent to. So to make more sense, if we were to see 30% was here under administration and general fund, 50% was maybe at water or something, that would show you where that salary is split up in to make the 100% of that salary of that person.